What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to TacticalBassin. Today's video, we are talking about summer topwater fishing. We're covering it all. Whopper ploppers, walking baits, poppers. Gonna try and simplify it for you. Let's go. Summer topwater fishing. You can see right here, I've tried to simplify it for myself. This says boat topwater, and it is a ton of baits. Got my Whopper plopper style baits, got my poppers, my walking style baits. Too many baits in here, but I got tired of having a box for each different style, so I created a boat box, and hopefully anything I need throughout the day throwing topwater, I have in here. Where do I start with topwater? It's hot out. Those fish love to eat topwater. I guess my number one tip for you, don't be afraid to throw topwater all day. You know, a lot of times we get in our mind that it has to be low light to throw a walking bait or a buzzbait, or it has to be sun setting or evening time. But believe it or not, bass eat topwater all day. And when that sun is high, it actually makes them easier to target. And I'll explain here in a little bit. So today's video, we got walking baits, we got fast moving baits, frogs, poppers. We got a bunch of stuff for you guys. But like I said, gonna try and simplify it for you, because summer topwater fishing can be overwhelming, especially if you're trying to figure out, which one bait to throw, which color to throw, where to throw it, what gear to throw it on. So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will have a little better idea, or at least know what I like to do, and you guys can branch off from there and adjust your fishing accordingly. But let's start off with low light topwater fishing, because I feel like that is, like, if you read the book on bass fishing, that's what it would tell you to do. First thing in the morning, last light in the evening, fish the topwater. The rest of the day, don't do it. So we'll start with that, and then we'll kind of change the game a little bit, and I'll give you some tips and some baits for throwing topwater all day in the heat of the day. So I like to break topwater fishing down into just a few categories. You guys saw that in my boat box. I got Whopper ploppers, I got poppers, and I have walking baits. For those of you guys that aren't familiar, a Whopper plopper has a prop on the back. You throw it out, you reel it on the surface, whop, 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 plop, 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 plop. Makes a lot of disturbance. Other thing, buzzbait. Double buzz, single buzz. That was a big blow up. And then, so those are my fast moving baits. And then you have your walking baits. Baits that are like this, that just go side to side. They don't cover a lot of distance very quickly, but they go side to side. You have your poppers, bloop, bloop, kind of stay in position, stay in the zone, and with that cupped face, moves a lot of water, makes a lot of sound. A lot of these baits will produce a bubble trail, something for those fish to track. Then what else we got for you? We got frogs. How you talk about summer fish and topwater fishing without talking about a frog? So I'm not going to go too in depth on frogs and toads, because I just did 2 in-depth videos on those 2 techniques last week or the week before, so I'll link those down below in the video description. Those are in-depth videos on toad fishing and frog fishing, but we will cover them a little bit today because they have a time and a place. So getting back to it, low light, evening time, first thing in the morning, that is when I like to throw my quicker moving baits. You can throw a walking bait, and you will have a ton of success on it. I'm just trying to kind of break down the categories and help you understand what I do and the thinking or the thought process behind it, because a lot of it has to do with fishing with the high sun and shade lines and shadows and dark water, which will really position those fish. And for me, it's easier to target those fish with slower moving baits. So if you want to talk about buzz baits or quick moving baits, it's going to be low light. This is your double buzz. Got a horny toad on the back just to kind of give that bait some more body, a little bit more float to it. Both of these baits, if you reel, whop, 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 and you stop, they're gonna sink, so you have to keep them moving. A little trick on buzz baits, when you throw them out there and just before that bait hits the water, put your thumb on the spool, stop it, and engage that reel. That way, as soon as it hits, it's going, and you get a lot more, that bait's on the surface going right off the bat, and you don't waste a lot of distance or fishable space trying to get that bait, lifting your rod tip up, trying to get that bait to plane out up on the surface and then go. So cast right before it hits, stop that spool, engage the reel, and start going. Lift that rod tip a little bit, now keep that buzzbait on the surface. 2, 3 different styles of buzzbaits that I like to throw. The standard is that big double buzzbait. A lot of commotion. You can fish it slower because it has more resistance, but that is the double buzz. For me, I like throwing a single buzzbait. Real natural, that has that D-walker on the back. It's just a buzzbait with a swim bait on the back. Big Bite has their suicide buzz that kind of comes pre-rigged, but let's pull one of these out of the packages. But it's just a little more subtle, a little more realistic looking. You know, buzzbait's all about commotion and getting those fish, those aggressive fish, to come up and just annihilate it. But if you're fishing around fish that are schooling on bait or really feeding on swim baits, it's hard to beat a subtle buzzbait with some kind of paddle tail swim bait on the back. Really the only other buzzbait I like to throw, I mean, we could do an in-depth video on each style of baits, but the other one's gonna be that Jamaica boa. That's that really cool sounding buzzbait by Megabass. They went ahead and put a bead on the shank, so it has a clacker, even though it doesn't have a metal piece flapping back and forth. You can see that blade spins and hits that little bead down there, or a little brass piece. But it's a cool bait. You don't necessarily need a trailer. It's got some long danglies behind it. But that is another winner for a single buzzbait. So, low light conditions, first light, I'm on the water, chucking and winding, just covering water and hoping for a big bite. You know, like this flat out here, there could be a bass anywhere on here. So you're just literally fan casting. You know, if you can visibly see maybe an isolated grass patch or something, or maybe some bait flickering, you could target cast that. But for the most part, you're covering water. Now, for me, if there isn't grass on the surface, obviously you can't throw a buzzbait or a Whopper plopper on the surface. If there's grass, you're gonna have to go with one of those kicker frogs or horny toad style baits, and I'll link those down below in the video description. But let's talk about if the grass isn't on the surface. It's really hard to beat a Whopper plopper, some kind of version of a Whopper plopper. Colors, I keep it super simple. You'll see in all of these, I do some kind of ghost minnow or bait fish. Maybe a bluegill pattern, but some kind of shad or bait fish. I will do bone or black, and then chrome For me, the last couple years, that chrome color has really outproduced, for me, all other colors. It just, something about that chrome, that real mirrored flash, just has done damage. But the Whopper plopper, the cool thing about the Whopper plopper, again, you're covering water, you get blown up and you miss, you can pause it, it floats. So you don't have to keep that thing going. That's what gives me, and you got a lot more hook points on that thing than a Buzzbait. I mean, you can put a stinger hook on here if you'd like, but you got a lot more hook points on a Whopper plopper. So schooling fish, they're blowing up, you can throw that thing in the middle and better chance of hooking them up. But early morning, low light, that is when I am covering water. Now, one bait I do want to show you guys, it's another one by Megabass. This is the iJack, iHook. But I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me try and turn around for you. See that rattle in there? This is a little wake bait. It's, I don't know, probably 4 inches or so. But it's something you can keep right on the surface. Great sound. I don't know if you guys, it's getting hot. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but let's see. Has that real big V on the surface, but it's a really loud, with that clacker in there. It's just another bait that you can cover a lot of water. All these baits that cover a lot of water, the Buzzbait, the Whopper plopper, that guy right there, they all make a lot of disturbance, a lot of sound. But that is when that's when I'm gonna throw those style of baits. Now, if I have a specific cast that I need to make, a specific laydown, dock piling, something that I have to, big bass just blew up right here, I swear. Half the time I'm doing a video, they blow up around the boat. It just never fails. I'll keep this one locked and loaded. If I'm target casting and I have a specific cast I have to make, I want that bait to stay in that zone, in that area, that strike zone, as long as possible. If you're throwing a Buzzbait, you gotta be reeling, you gotta get that thing out of there, otherwise it's gonna sink. So for me, this time of the year, as that sun gets up, you have those real harsh shade lines on docks. You look into a dock and there's a 3-foot section that's all shade. Those fish are gonna be lined up right in that shade. It makes the fish more predictable. It's hot. They like to get in that cooler water, that shaded water. But for me, the number one reason is it positions those fish and you can visibly see where there should be a bass. So that is when I go with my slower moving, my less distance covering baits, like a walking bait or a popper. Okay? So now that we've covered that, let's talk about the baits. So walking baits, for me the last couple years, last year for sure, my number one bait was the shower blows. My buddy Coop turned me onto that bait a couple years ago, man, and it is a fish producing machine. The different sizes, like I said, that chrome, you can see that thing is pretty much just worn some of that chrome off of there. But that chrome in that 105 size has just been lights out for me. Now, one thing I have been noticing on my shower blows, I just noticed it on this bait right here, and I've had a couple other do it. Been losing hook points. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if I got a bad batch or something, but pay attention to the hook points. I've never had issues before, but these last few baits I've gotten, you can see right there, I only have 2 of the 3 hooks breaking off. But traditionally, they come with great hooks. You don't have to upgrade them. You don't have to put Gamakatsus on there or owners. But lately, I have made a mental note to swap those out. But that gunfish right there has been my #1 go-to. But because of that, it became hard to get. And I noticed a few other companies coming out with baits that were kind of like that style. And I've kind of made the transition. That gunfish 117 Lucky Craft, this thing has been great for me this year. You can get them. They're fairly inexpensive in the category. That's an awesome color, by the way. Kind of bone with some flash to it. But their traditional gunfish, did I pull one out? Yeah. You know, has more of a cupped face, a little bit different face, a little different profile. But the 117, the new one, I think they're like $9 or $10. They're fairly inexpensive in the category, but I've caught a lot of fish on this bait this year already. That gunfish has been great. 13 Fishing just came out with one that's really, really good. And then the other one I wanted to talk about was the Savage Gear. And you'll notice that most of these have kind of the same, those hooks are sharp too, same style, kind of that pencil popper-esque type of face, kind of a slendering down, narrowing down body. But what is cool about this guy, this is the prop walker. You can walk it like a traditional walking bait, like I just explained, or best of both worlds, you can pop these open. They're little flexible propellers, and now it turns it into a Whopper plopper style bait. So, you know, walking it or cast and retrieve, depending on what you want to do. They just pop into place once you're done. But now it's your traditional walking bait. But that guy right there, that's the Prop Walker 100. Again, 13 Fishing has that one out. I'll link that down below. Have some success with that one. And then the last but not least is going to be the Rover. A little bit different sounding bait. Let me get some of these hooks out of the way. Shower blows. Gunfish. Rover. A little bit higher pitch, and for me, that through the years, Matt will swear by it too. I mean, it's just outfished a lot of the other spook style baits. That Rover right there. So the Rover, the Gunfish, the Shower Blows, the Prop Walker are my walking baits. I mean, that's what I have. I do have some spooks and stuff in here, but for the most part, that is what I have. And I have them in a few different colors. Like I said before, the natural colors, either some kind of shad or matte shad color. I mean, it's hard to compete with Megabass's colors, but either some kind of baitfish color, shad, bluegill, sunfish, something like that, a bone or a black, and then chrome, flashy. Now, with that said, I've had a lot of success in the last couple years downsizing my topwater baits. So the Shower Blows 105 versus the larger, I think it's a 135. You know, the Rover, going to a smaller version of the Rover, going to a smaller version of the Gunfish. This one just came out, but you see what I mean. Just a little bit smaller bait profile. You typically lose a hook. Typically when you downsize, you go from a 3-hook bait to a 2-hook bait, but I haven't had many issues with that. Frogs. So we're talking high sun. We're talking about specific casts. If there's grass, you know, it's hard to beat some kind of frog. That's that snag proof. Went ahead and put a jig rattle in it. Just a little bit of extra sound and weight, but some kind of frog. Again, I will link our favorites down below in the video description. I mean, look at this one. This one's Little Allen. You guys have seen that for years. It's the frog that Matt and I designed, but that thing is just chewed up. A little bit shorter legs. The Gabacho. But if you have to target cast an isolated grass patch or a piece of cover and there is grass, it's hard to beat a frog. Now on the flip side, the popper. If you're not in the grass, you got to go with a popper. That's the Pop Max, and here is the Pop X. Show you guys these real quick. Now, a lot like the frog, a lot like the walking bait. See the two different sizes, Pop Max, Pop X. Really, really small popper. Works great. Sorry guys. Works great when they're really keying in on smaller bait fish. This one's a little bit harder to walk, kind of just pops. You can walk it a little bit side to side, but the Pop Max is really easy to walk. But the benefit of a popper, you cast to that piece of cover. I mean, you can walk this thing, doop, 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 get that thing going side to side, blooping, or just bloop, bloop. The other one that's been, I have it tied on almost all the time now, is that World Pop with that flash boost in there. It's got that piece of foil suspended. What a cool way to get secondary action out of a bait that's not moving. You know, when these real bait fish are sitting there, their scales are moving, their fins are moving, but this guy right here, that flash boost has really, I think, changed the game as far as poppers. So I have that thing tied on all the time. It's just got that it factor. But the benefit of the popper, again, really accurate, really precise cast on those shade lines. That's when you're going to go with the slower distance covering baits, either the walking bait or the popper. Now, what else do we have to talk about? We talked about the fast moving baits. We talked about the slow moving baits. We talked about colors. As far as gear, typically you want to go with a shorter rod if possible, because a lot of these baits, minus just the reel retrieves, you actually have to walk them. So it's play around with your cadence. But what that does, that gets that bait going side to side to side to side to side. It's just pivoting on that rear, the butt of the bait, side to side, you know, splashing water, covering a little bit of distance, but it's that. If you can't get the bait to walk, try hitting it a little bit softer, and then adjust your cadence from there. But again, you're getting that thing going side to side. So you want typically a little bit shorter rod, you know, 7'4". Well, depending on your height. I mean, if you're 7 foot tall, you could probably get away with a lot longer rod than someone that's, you know, 6 foot. But you know, a little bit shorter rod. That way, you're not slapping the boat or hitting the ground with your rod tip or slapping the water when you're trying to walk this thing. But again, typically I'm throwing braid to leader. Braid has a lot smaller diameter, so you know I can put a ton of braid on here. I mean, just sent it. So braid to a monofilament leader. You don't want to run a fluorocarbon leader on your topwaters. Braid to mono. Fluorocarbon's heavier. It sinks, so it'll mess up the action of your bait. So you want to go with mono, either straight mono or braid to mono. Again, with that braided line, you could just get, I mean, braided line is such a smaller diameter than traditional fluoro mono, so you can just get so much more line on there and really send it, especially if you're running some kind of smooth braid, either a super slick or that 131 from Suffix. That's great braid for smooth braid, but I like to run braid to leader. It gives me a lot more distance. Now, where that really comes into play, if you're a lowland or highland reservoir fisherman and you're fishing for spotted bass or pelagic fish, you know, fish that are out there cruising in open water, and all of a sudden they start blowing up 50 yards from you, you need to send it and get it to them. If you can get anywhere close, almost every time, as soon as that bait hits and on your first twitch, or even when it hits, they will eat it. So that's why I like having that braid. It just gives me a lot more distance But yeah, guys, I think that about wraps it up. You know, don't be afraid to throw top water all day. It gets easier in my mind when the sun is up and it lays those shade lines along the shoreline or on the dock line or some kind of overhang. You know, those fish, they don't have eyelids. They like to be in the darker water. They like to be in the cooler water. It just, in my mind, makes it easier to understand where that fish should be. Don't be afraid to throw top water in the heat of the day. I think you guys will have success. I know you guys will have success. I will link all these products down below in the video description, some hook upgrades and all the gear. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.